Roanoke Island, 1587.
Home.
Governor, there's no one here.
3 years after leaving Roanoke, John White had finally returned.
Eleanor? Virginia? CROATOAN.
There were no bodies, no graves, only a word. More than 100 settlers, men, women, children, gone. More than 4 centuries later, the mystery remains. Three years earlier, Roanoke had looked very different. It looked like a beginning.
It's larger than I imagined.
Everything is, until you make a home of it.
Careful.
So this is it.
This is it. Place the supplies beyond the beach. There's a great deal still to do.
Then we'd better begin.
Do you think we'll stay?
Long enough for our child to call it home.
For the moment, Roanoke was alive.
Father.
I'm here. She's beautiful.
On August 18th, 1587, Eleanor Dare gave birth to a daughter.
Virginia.
Virginia Dare.
She was named Virginia for the land her family hoped would become her home.
A good sign. I hope so.
Virginia Dare became the first English child born in England's fragile new colony. For the settlers, Virginia represented something larger than a birth. She represented a future. But beyond the firelight, Roanoke was still very far from home.
It's going faster than we planned.
How long?
It won't be ready.
Then we make what we have last.
Roanoke had been founded with ambition. Ambition could not feed a colony.
We need supplies.
I know.
Then someone has to go back.
Help existed, but it lay an ocean away.
I'll return to England.
For how long?
As little time as I can manage.
The colony needed supplies, and John White was asked to bring them.
I'll come back. I promise.
It was a promise. History would make almost impossible to keep.
I'll be back before you know it.
Then don't make us wait.
Virginia Dare was only days old when her grandfather left Roanoke.
Look after them until I come back from England.
I will.
White believed his absence would be brief. He was sailing toward England for supplies, for help. And then, war changed everything.
I need a ship for Roanoke. Every seaworthy vessel is needed here.
When can I sail?
Not yet.
England's conflict with Spain was escalating. Ships were needed for defense, crews were needed for war, supplies were needed at home. Roanoke were thousands of miles away. Weeks became months, and across the Atlantic, White could only imagine what was happening at Roanoke. The historical record tells us almost nothing about what the colonists experienced during White's absence, and that silence is where the mystery begins.
Can you take me west?
If the voyage allows it.
I need to get there as soon as possible.
White did attempt to return. When passage became possible, the Atlantic and England's war still stood between him and Roanoke. Attempts were delayed, voyages were disrupted, and White remained unable to reach his family. By 1588, England faced the Spanish Armada. The fate of one distant settlement was no longer the nation's priority. 1 year passed, then another. By the time John White finally found his way back across the Atlantic, nearly 3 years had passed. In 1590, John White finally crossed the Atlantic again. For nearly 3 years, he had waited for this journey. He had left behind a daughter, a son-in-law, a newborn granddaughter, and a colony he still believed would be waiting.
Land!
Then the coastline appeared. But as they drew closer, something was missing. The ordinary signs of a living settlement. After 3 years, only a narrow stretch of water separated White from the answer he had crossed an ocean to find. At dawn, White began the final journey, back to Roanoke.
Hello?
White followed the familiar path inland, toward the place he had left almost 3 years before. What White found was not simply an empty settlement. Much of it had been taken apart.
Where are the houses?
There were no bodies, no obvious evidence of a massacre, no scene. That clearly explained why the colonists had left. Among what remained, White found possessions of his own, ruined by weather and time.
No cross.
No.
White found none. Before White had left, the colonists had agreed upon a signal. If they were forced away under distress, they would mark their message with a cross. Then, they found the beginning of a name. CROATOAN, the name of a nearby island and of the indigenous community associated with it. It was not a meaningless clue. CROATOAN was not a cryptic phrase. It referred to a nearby island and to the indigenous people who lived in the region. The colonists knew the CROATOAN. They were part of the human landscape. The English had entered, and that made the carving a possible destination.
If you leave word where you've gone,
And if we're forced?
mark it.
White had arranged for the colonists to leave a message if they moved while he was gone. And there was something else. The agreed sign of distress was missing. If the agreement had been followed, the colonists may not have left under immediate threat. For White, the mystery may have suddenly become a direction.
We go to CROATOAN.
White intended to follow the clue, but the Outer Banks had other plans. Weather deteriorated, anchoring became difficult, and reaching CROATOAN became increasingly dangerous. White had finally returned. He had found a message. He had found a possible destination, but he would never reach it, and the people of Roanoke would disappear into history. But if CROATOAN was a destination, what happened to the colonists after they left Rowan? For centuries, Roanoke has been remembered as the colony that simply vanished. But look at what White actually found. No field of bodies, no settlement consumed by fire. Structures had been taken apart, and the colonists had left behind a destination. One possibility is far less mysterious. The colonists may simply have moved, not vanished, not disappeared, moved. CROATOAN lay nearby, an inhabited island within the same coastal world. White believed the message could mean the colonists had gone there. The CROATOAN people already understood this landscape, the waters, the seasons, the food, the risks, everything the English were still learning. Did the colonists reach CROATOAN? Did they live beside its people? Did some eventually become part of that community? We do not know. And there may be another reason. No single theory explains everything. The colonists may not have stayed together. Perhaps the people of Roanoke were never lost in the way legend remembers them. Perhaps they moved, adapted, separated, survived, until eventually history lost track of them. More than 4 centuries later, there is still no single answer. Only evidence, possibilities, and theories. The first theory is also the one the colonists themselves may have left behind. CROATOAN, a nearby island, an established community, and perhaps a place to survive. Another possibility takes us inland before White left. Relocation away from Roanoke had already been contemplated, and centuries later, English artifacts would be found farther west. Others may have moved north toward the Chesapeake. The region had originally been the expedition's intended destination, but possibility is not proof. Then there was hunger. The region endured a severe drought. Crops could fail, water could become difficult, stored food could disappear, but starvation alone does not easily explain what White found. The Outer Banks also knew violent storms. A hurricane could have forced a vulnerable settlement to leave, but the structures White described appeared dismantled, not destroyed. Spain has also been accused. The Spanish knew England was attempting to establish colonies, and they searched for English activity, but no surviving evidence proves Spain destroyed the Roanoke colony. Conflict cannot be dismissed either. Relations between English settlers and indigenous communities were complicated, sometimes cooperative, sometimes violent, but again, the evidence is incomplete. Or perhaps the mystery has resisted explanation because we keep looking for one answer. More than 100 people did not necessarily share one fate. Some may have gone south, others inland, some may have died, and some may have survived. For more than 4 centuries, Roanoke kept its answers beneath the soil. One clue had been hiding in plain sight. On a map drawn by John White himself, researchers discovered a concealed symbol, a fort. Researchers followed the map to an area inland. They called it Site X, and beneath layers of Carolina soil, they found evidence that Elizabethans had been there. Not treasure, something far more useful. Pottery, provisioning vessels, metal, and a late 16th century cloth seal. The pattern mattered. These were not simply objects dropped during a brief journey. Researchers argue they point toward a longer English presence inland. The mystery of Roanoke may no longer be a question of whether anyone survived. The harder question may be who went where and whether the earth still remembers the rest. The people of Roanoke may never have vanished in a single night. They may simply have scattered into communities, into families, into generations, until history could no longer see them